Hello, this is Chala Dincoy. Welcome to the Polish My Pitch podcast, the deep dive with my good friend Arjun. Arjun, welcome.
Thank you so much, Chala, for inviting me again on your show. This is absolutely an honor.
All right, so first tell everybody what a great thing you're doing. What is it that you do?
Well, our whole mission going into 2020 was to support the underdog, right? We say we build smart marketing for underdog marketeers, and there's definitely a conversation around what is a marketer and what is a marketeer. And we like to call underdog marketeers essentially what you and I would call also small businesses. And obviously, as 2020 progressed, we figured out that small businesses desperately needed solutions for digital marketing, starting with social media, with content marketing, and soon we're going to be working on other channels as well. They needed something that was affordable, but most importantly, intelligent, so they could compete with the biggest, Goliaths in their category. It doesn't matter which industry you're in. There is always someone, bigger than you with more budget, with more people working on their marketing and more insights, more data to be able to crush you. And so we basically said we're going to build a categorically new product, helping small businesses, the underdogs, against all of these, unlimited marketing budgets, and win. And so we grew 20,000% this year. Obviously, we've been doing pretty well, and now we have an obligation. We have an obligation to support every other small business owner around the world.
That's amazing. Now, so where does this underdog business come from?
I first of all, I love dogs. You can see the mascot is everywhere. We believe that, just like your furry little friend, he teaches you when, how, and what to post. He's just, man's or woman's best friend. And when I guess it's just I've been building startups since I was 16. I'm 29 now. I just turned 29 a couple of weeks ago. At the end of the day, we're all underdogs. We are all trying to go up against a force that is probably a competitor, maybe society, the status quo, whatever that may be. We're always trying to go from the bottom and make it to the top, right? Small businesses do that every single day, and many of them don't get any love for it. And they deserve a lot more respect. They deserve a lot more attention, and especially when we know majority of the jobs in the U.S. and in the world come from small businesses, we need to support them more and more. And that's where our platform comes in, is to amplify all of their storytelling using artificial intelligence.
That's great. So, how did you ever start your business so young? Talk about that. Like, were you like a child prodigy?
I don't think so. There are definitely people my age who were, doing more things, selling companies, getting on TV. All of that was very inspirational. But I grew up in a very Asian household, and I was told that you have to do X and then Y and then Z, and then once you're done, you can date, and then you can, build a startup, whatever you need to do afterwards. And I was like, no, 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 and no. I'm gonna do it my way. And so I ended up, coming to New York, negotiating my way into the university I ended up going to. I got 1 year worth of scholarships, and so thank God I was able to afford
What
that. And then
university was that?
in New York City.
Okay, so you negotiated?
Yeah, I love negotiating, and so I called up the dean of the university before I even came to New York, and I was like, hey, I can't afford your school. I appreciate the little bit of scholarships. Can you help me out, and can I help you out with the entrepreneurship degree, which was very new. And then I ended up finding out that there's a incubator and an entrepreneurship center that they were building that they needed help with as well, talking about the universe aligning itself, right?
Wow.
And
Arjun, that is amazing. You never told me the story.
Yep. So one thing led to the other. I ended up getting 2 more years of, full scholarships to be able to afford it.
Oh my God.
And
How much is the scholarship, Arjun?
this was enough to cover like 3 years of tuition.
Like
But
10, 20 grand?
around there, yeah. And what I was able to do is build two companies at the same time. So one was an agency just to pay the bills and live in New York, and then I ended up raising up close to $1 million for building a software company that sold into agencies. Learn about failure at that level, by the way, because we figured out that our technology was way too ahead of its time. We were building, basically a limitless canvas for creators and visual people to do project management. So if you and I wanted to work on a project, we could literally just swipe our avatars together. We could take files from Dropbox and swipe them to you. And, and it was a very visual Iron Man, Minority Report interface, and the hardware wasn't there yet. So we figured out that, the consequence of that, and then I ended up building Hello Wolfie a couple of years later, and we've raised, a good amount of capital for this as well. And I ended up putting 170K, mostly on credit cards, into the company to turn it around.
Wow. But so let me ask you this: who taught you how to negotiate and sell?
I see a lot of inspiration. I get a lot of inspiration from books and audiobooks today. So for example, Russell Brunson's,
Yeah.
Expert Secrets, Traffic Secrets. We absolutely follow it like like it's the Bible for startups. We love Grant Cardone, the Closer Survival Guide. Just yesterday, I had a little image I put together because I always carry around two pens in my pocket to be able to close anywhere I go. And one of the things he talks about in his book is he stepped away to grab a pen, and it was because he didn't have a pen in his office. And by the time he came back, the client decided not to move forward with the contract. And so every single time you'll never see me without two pens in my left pocket.
Who said
Um,
that? Is that Grant Cardone that said that?
Grant Cardone, yep, in the Closer Survival Guide and the 10x rule as well to 10x book. So anyway, this is kind of where I get my inspirations. Where it really started was Donnie Deutsch, who was on TV years ago with the big idea, the big idea of Donnie Deutsch. My mom and I would watch that every weekday at 10 p.m. on CNBC, and we will see some of the most inspirational people on the show. And unfortunately, my mom passed away about a year ago, and up until the end, she definitely had been teaching me continuously all about building a business, to being focused on design, aesthetics, and and so we despite all of that, we launched and we grew 20,000% this year.
Who passed away last year?
My mom.
I'm so sorry. I thought you were saying Donnie Deutsch. I mean,
No, he's kicking
Yeah, I know.
asterisk.
You're so young to have lost. I mean, were they in New York?
So I grew up in New Jersey, just across the pond. Or I guess we say that for the UK, but just across the river. But yeah, unfortunately, I hadn't seen her for at least 2 years before she passed away.
Wow. And at least she didn't get to see the pandemic.
Yeah, but I hope she's doing well wherever she is today and seeing her success.
Pretty sure she's watching your success for sure. My God. So talk about the success. I mean, did it all happen overnight? Like, how did it work? How did
Yeah.
you, what have you been doing to get all this success?
Well, it's a lot of sales calls. We start our day typically now at 7 a.m. in the morning. We do our first sales calls then, and then throughout the day, we're doing sales calls or investor pitches. We have 3 competitions that we're part of today, and then we'll go all the way till 11 p.m. So with a couple hours in between for like lunch and dinner and like social hanging, hanging out with friends and things like that. It's pretty much, a 7 to 11 job. And that's how we've been able to increase revenue, get more customers on board, support more customers on board as well. But I would say, raising, capital through Reg CF, which is essentially equity crowdfunding. People can invest as low as $100 into any company that is raising capital through this, for example us. And so what we've been able to do is raise capital from our customers while they are also paying us subscription fees, which is a very unique way, because as we do better, the customer does better. If imagine being able to invest in Microsoft 30 years ago on its way up, or any other company that has done really well. And then soon we're going to be building a marketplace where all of our nearly 7,000 customers who are small businesses, they can hire one another. So if you need copywriting, you need video editing, whatever you need, we definitely have customers using our platform. So again, we're always thinking about community and being empathetic and being EQ driven, while running a sustainable, forward thinking business.
And so, how do you find the people to prospect? Are you using just online? Like, are you using digital means? Like, are you
Yeah.
LinkedIn? What are you doing?
Absolutely. I remember the old days. I would go to Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, Upwork and whatnot to find potential customers to then be able to do interviews with, because I think customer discovery is super important and something that people definitely overlook. But today we're 45%, 50% of our revenue is through paid advertising, and the rest is through people referring us, or we have channels that we don't have attribution for. So I think that's a pretty good blend of where we're going, and we're definitely seeing the organic go up. And I think podcasting is one of them, especially when we do video podcasts. People are able to see the product in action, are able to see the energy in action. They're able to feel that the other side here at Hello Woofy headquarters, that we actually understand what the small business needs. It's not just about a fancy product, a lower price point. It's about giving them smart technology at a price point they can afford, and continuously evolving with their feedback. 90% of our roadmap is influenced by our customers in our Facebook group, Content Masters.
That's amazing. So could you show us the product? And for those of you who are just listening, maybe you could walk them or talk them through it.
Sure, absolutely. So like I said, a lot of the other solutions out there, they tend to look like this, right? Again, for people who are not able to see visually what what I'm sharing right now, it's a very linearly designed, old school, clunky dashboard. Totally gets the job done. You put in content, you tell it where to post, but it doesn't give you the AI capabilities, the data science you need to become better. Now what I'm showing you, your viewers or listeners, is a clunkier dashboard for enterprises. This is going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in licensing fees, but still doesn't do the job. It doesn't give you recommendations, doesn't curate content for you, doesn't create content, doesn't even tell you what you could have done better. So when you're in our platform, what you'll notice is that there is a lot of white space. We want to make sure that, again, to an earlier conversation, if you're a chef, you need a sharp knife. If you're a carpenter, you need a really nice hammer. You don't want those tools to not be working for you when you're in the middle of running your business. So in this case, there's a lot of white space. In fact, everything is also color driven. Purple represents campaigns or long-term strategies. Blue, on the other hand, indicates short-term strategies, single posts, one post at a time that you're adding in. And those color differences, and there are plenty of other color differences across the board as well, is to indicate functionality. And if you're colorblind, it automatically turns into different patterns and shapes for you as well. So you could use a very minimalistic. And honestly, I love saying that I'm inspired by Danish furniture, because first of all, I love EDM, and some of the best EDM artists are from Denmark. But their sense of furniture and modern, sleek, minimalistic furniture is kind of how I think about when building product. So for example, if we're going to create a piece of content here, I'll give you a quick example. All I have to do is type in how R and just the A of the R. For viewers who are listening in, I have just typed in HOW space A, and what you're seeing on the screen now is the entire sentence, which is how are you being recommended, and with a tab sign at the end. What that means is all I have to do is hit tab and complete the sentence, and it'll do it for me. But maybe I want to say I love, and again, for the viewers who are listening in, I just typed in I space LOV. It already completed the word love and has the word recommended you after that. And I can say, of course, Chala, we love you. And my coffee, which I just, made earlier in the morning. Now, notice what happens below. It starts giving you recommendations of emojis that are probably going to be relevant to what you entered so far. Now, the reason why emojis are super important is, again, I'm showing research for viewers who are listening in, is from Adobe Emoji Trend Report. This is not our opinion. Of course, we validated this, but emojis tend to drive significant uplift, double-digit uplift in engagement, and also double-digit uplift in purchase intent. So we're literally the only ones in the world that have built the ability to figure out what words and copywriting do well with other emojis, what emojis in that case do well with other hashtags, and so on and so forth. It's almost like teaching a kid copywriting, but you're also teaching them 2 other languages and being able to have a conversation between the 3 different languages, or 4 as you're typing. So we already, obviously we're figuring that out for you. Now what you're seeing is the ability to figure out which emojis are actually being used around the world in real time. So you can make a data-driven decision based on trends, based on popularity. You don't have to use an emoji just because you feel like, that's maybe the thing you use all the time. The same finger gestures, the same, smiley faces. And then based on what you enter so far, we'll automatically find images based on all of our royalty-free repositories of what will, be most relevant. And then hashtags. Automatically, this platform is now figuring out what's in the image to give you hashtag recommendations as well. So, I mean, the capabilities are immense. And then we're taking this even one step forward with the world's first Amazon Alexa scheduler. For people who are listening in, this is a depiction of a living room with a husband and wife, and of course our mascot at the front of the living room. You're able to see, Chala on the screen if she ends up using our scheduler, and with a quick 2-minute video, a quick 2-minute audio clip saying, "Hey, take a look at our Friday drop of the latest episode about how Arjun, our great interview with Arjun, or I guess we'll know how great this is or not. But he talks about the top 5 things you need to do as a small business owner. Here's one tip. For the rest, tune in tomorrow." And that's your way of broadcasting right next to CNN, right next to Fox News, and any of these other big companies that have continuously owned the living room as far as the attention span is concerned. You at Chala, you can own that too as well now.
I love it. I've been busting my chops to get on TV. Now I don't have to.
Absolutely. And so there's so many more features and capabilities in here, but the point is it goes back to the mission, which is supporting the underdog and making sure that they have the tools that they need to compete with the biggest people or the biggest companies in their category.
I bet you give money to the people who are like on the side of highways. I don't know if you have them in New York.
I do. Yeah.
We certainly have them. We certainly have them in Toronto.
And on that topic briefly, what I've been starting to think about is like giving everyone Square devices and somewhat affordable smartphones if possible. That you could just swipe credit cards as you just drive by, just swipe credit cards, hit a dollar sign or whatever. Because I'm finding myself like I literally only carry like $20 now or $10, but I don't carry change anymore.
I know. Do you know what I give them? I give them food.
Yes.
Like, small packs of like food, like crackers or bars, and they're always it really doesn't matter what you give them. It doesn't matter as long as you give them anything, even a smile. Sometimes I have nothing and I go, "Oh, I have nothing to give you." If you just notice them, if you just talk to them, that's what we want. Because one thing I've heard is they always feel invisible and talk about underdogs.
Yeah, and that's actually, we take the same philosophy into our business as well. Every Friday, we do client networking calls. This is actually inspired by Jessica and Margie over at Interview Connections, is that I love the fact that they would get on calls with us, you and me, and several of their other clients, and just talk. Just open forum. And so at 12 p.m. every Friday Eastern time, we do client networking calls. And we've been asked, we've been getting customers asking us, how do I do Facebook pixels? How do I build a website? How do I find someone on Fiverr? Things that we would probably take for granted. I mean, I've had to learn these things by myself, but that if I can just give them the resource, they're light years ahead of where they were yesterday. So we're kind of giving back continuously. And of course, anyone can invest in the company now too, as low as $100. That's their way of saying, I want this feature built. Please add it to the roadmap.
Awesome. Yes, I know my VA, Crystal's been, like burning up the phones with you or, the communication with you because she's really invested and loves the tool, and she's invested in seeing it improve. So I'm like, call Arjun, you tell Arjun, you just tell Arjun. So I'm so glad that things are working out. I'm so happy to have had you on my podcast. I'm so happy.
Thank you. Virtual hug.
Virtual hug. Is there any last advice that you want to give to people who are trying to sell today in the world of COVID online? Is there any?
Just get started. Just you should have started a week ago. If you're thinking that TikTok isn't for you, for example, that all the kids are on it, well, here's the deal. I am following some of the most influential coaches, virtual assistants, social media gurus on TikTok, and they're distributing content, finding value, driving up revenue for themselves. The fact that you're even thinking about whether you should be on there or not means that you're on the losing side of the game, because someone else was like, oh, let's just do it. Let's just jump in and see what happens and double down on it. We obviously automate TikTok using Hello Woofy, for ourselves, and our clients are using that for themselves as well. Just get on it. Just automate the process, see what works, double down on what is working. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But the point is, in COVID, to your question, you have to try every digital solution and channel, like the Alexa scheduler that we're about to roll out very soon with Amazon's help. That is another channel for you to be not the second screen or the third screen, but the main screen, along with the ability to funnel people back to your website. Just try it and see what happens. And the people who are obviously early adopters, they will always win because they know exactly what's coming up. That's great. And where can people reach you, Arjun? Just ARJUN at hellowoofy.com. Email me your story. Tell me what we can do for you at Hello Woofy, and also our Content Masters group. Go ahead and join that. Is there a gift? Is there a gift? Well, it's a $49 a year lifetime subscription right now. That's a pretty nice gift.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
pretty good.
Before prices go up in January, so I do encourage people to join in. 30-day money back guarantee, but again, majority of our customers, almost all of them, stick around.
Yes, and I can vouch for that. We've been with you since we met.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming, Arjun.
Thank you, Chala.
The
Bye-bye.
best.